Crunchyroll has had a lot of bad news coming out the last few days. Senior Vice President over at Crunchyroll, Marcus Girdman, has come under fire in Japan, specifically from Toei and Toho. Bloomberg had wrote, in the past year, he has angered both Toei and Toho, according to current and former employees. In July, for example, Toei representatives were underwhelmed at a Crunchyroll concert for the anime hit One Piece, held on the San Diego Bay during Comic-Con. The signature ship from the program sailed by, but was not lit up, so many of those in attendance couldn't see it. Girdman had oversaw the event. Then on October, Girdman sent an email to staff seen by Bloomberg, asking them not to promote the important Toho title, Dandadan. Quote, due to ongoing acquisition discussions, we decided not to further lean into the promotion of Dandadan, unquote, the email read. The show was also streaming on Netflix, where it debuted as the second most viewed non-English show. CBR also writing about this, saying that it's unconfirmed what specific acquisition discussions led to this. However, Dandadan was simulcast on both Crunchyroll and Netflix, despite many anime being platform exclusive, with Crunchyroll usually getting the lion's share of the top titles. Meanwhile, G-Kids secured the rights to the home video release, marking the company's first ever first-run anime license. Toho later announced its acquisition of G-Kids a few months later, signaling its intention to compete with other licensees. Toho's US anime expansion is also evidenced by Toho International opening the anime merch store Izo, while Crunchyroll operates the Crunchyroll store. Toho International distributed the latest My Hero Academia film, when Crunchyroll had previously held those rights for the first two films. As you can clearly see, many Japanese people working at these Japanese companies like Toei and Toho seem to be getting sick of Crunchyroll, attempting to go around them if possible, which, as you probably know, is something many Western fans have been asking for a while, specifically that being to cut out the middleman, of course the middleman being Crunchyroll, or really any Western company that's getting in the way of the fans and the authentic products from Japan. Now, of course, since 2021, Sony did acquire Crunchyroll, merging it with Funimation and then baking Funimation into Crunchyroll and, that whole thing. So we can only speculate just how much Crunchyroll is being left to its own devices and how much Sony is pulling the strings. It seems like there's also a lot of internal strife over at Crunchyroll. CBR had further wrote, Bloomberg's report details other concerns about Girdman. It's worth noting that he was cleared of all wrongdoing, but was reported to HR for sexism and creating a hostile work environment. 7 staff members told Bloomberg that he negatively impacted employee morale. Readers can check out the full report, highlighting that alongside Toho, Crunchyroll has upset several other licensors and publishers, producing merchandise that displease manga publishers, and even, quote, heavyweight manga authors, unquote. Crunchyroll is the 36th biggest merchandise licensor in the world. However, it has been claimed that Crunchyroll sales figures are not deemed trustworthy, which would mean that licensors may be receiving less revenue than they're entitled to. So things do seem to be getting more complicated here with these wrongdoings that Girdman was accused of yet cleared of, making it seem like people at Crunchyroll were attempting to get him removed from his position, get him fired from the company, any way they possibly could. It seems like there are various things going wrong at Crunchyroll, and it's not the fault of just one person, but a larger amount of people at the company. On top of that, many Crunchyroll employees and associates have acted extremely unprofessionally over the years on social media, this also contributing to the negative perception that many anime fans have of Crunchyroll. On top of everything that we already discussed, things are still getting worse for them, as Bloomberg would continue to write that Japanese manga publishers such as Shogakukan, Shueisha, and Kodansha are also unhappy with how Crunchyroll manages merchandise rights. The company often makes and sells merchandise or collectibles, such as figures or posters, in ways that the publishers don't approve. According to both Crunchyroll employees and staffers in the Japanese publishing industry, Crunchyroll didn't respond to a request for comment on the issue. Reports from Crunchyroll detailing sales for revenue sharing purposes are not considered trustworthy, 3 Japanese anime industry employees said. The US company's attitude made some heavyweight manga authors upset, as their characters were used in ways that they didn't want, the people said. Meanwhile, Sony just announced that it increased its stake in Kadokawa Corp., one of the major Japanese anime creators, to 10% as part of a broader business relationship with the company. Sony has long had a strong position distributing anime outside of Japan, but doesn't own much of the content. The company said they plan to invest in properties jointly and market them globally through Sony's distribution network. Their strengthened alliance could also give other Japanese studios more incentive to find different distribution partners, industry insiders said. Sony shares rose 2% on Friday. Returning to the Dandadan thing again though, with Crunchyroll deciding to not promote it, it's funny to speculate why they may have made that decision. Imagine, for example, if Crunchyroll was insecure and upset that Dan was also being streamed on Netflix, and they're like, you know what, we're just not gonna promote it at all then. We're gonna make that show flop. As if they really had that kind of pull. This speculation could also somewhat fall in line with the whole thing about them being nervous about potential acquisitions going on, which may have referred to the whole Sony Katakawa thing. Regardless, let me know what your speculation is in the comments, and we're not done just yet. Crunchyroll has also been having issues in the mobile games market. As Bloomberg wrote here, Crunchyroll management figured they could hook Crunchyroll subscribers on mobile games based on their favorite anime shows like One Punch Man, according to 3 people familiar with the strategy. But that initiative has struggled. Over the past 2 years, 3 games have shut down, including one based on Princess Connect Redive, while the company has launched 4 others. Last month, all of the games except one brought in sales of less than $5,000 each on the iOS or Android platforms, according to data from Sensor Tower. Although Crunchyroll invested a large sum developing its One Punch Man world game, the US license for the show was snagged by Hulu. The game hasn't received an update in months, spurring fans to complain online. The company has added more than 30 titles to its Game Vault offering, which is included in some Crunchyroll subscriptions. Furthermore, Crunchyroll also having merchandise issues. Executives also hoped merchandising would help retain subscribers and boost revenue, current and former employees said. Viewers could binge on manga comic books between anime seasons instead of pausing their monthly fee, or purchase collectible figures of their favorite anime characters. After taking over the anime merchandise retailer Right Stuff for an undisclosed sum in 2022, Crunchyroll's online store was poised to offer manga, DVDs, and toys. The business has shrunk since the acquisition, according to 3 former employees. Among the reasons, Sony asked Crunchyroll to pull the racier adult manga and toys that formed about 5% of Right Stuff's revenue. Over the summer, Crunchyroll laid off employees working on its video games and e-commerce initiatives. This seems like a great time to end with a laugh by taking a look at this blast from the past, so to speak, when the senior events producer over at Crunchyroll decided to post a video on his Twitter account doing a tour of the new Crunchyroll office, saying, "The new Crunchyroll office is so amazing. It blows me away, we all work here now." And the entire comment section went on to just roast the dude, saying things like, money for this, but still have an Android app that barely functions, a website with incredibly limited features, a lackluster library that's losing more and more exclusives to Netflix and Hulu, and is trying to produce original content that nobody wants. Clearly, money well spent. The original content thing likely referring to at the time High Guardian Spice, which another comment also talked about here, saying, is this why High Guardian Spice missed its original 2019 release date and still missing in action with 0 trailers since? Of course, High Guardian Spice did end up being released, but that's a whole situation in and of itself that we're not going to get into here at the end of this video. Another amusing response reads, "Every time I feel guilty about pirating anime, I remember that you are the alternative." And lastly, we'll end with these 2 examples. One saying, "How about paying your translators better, since you can clearly afford to?" The next one reading, "So is this where all the money anime studios don't ever see goes? Stuff that doesn't benefit them in the slightest?" In closing, let me know what you think about all of this Crunchyroll stuff. I hope you found this segment to be amusing, and I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. If you enjoyed my coverage, also consider liking and or subscribing. Appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.